Mets baseball is back, and Mets Daily is here every day to cover these 2025 New York Mets. The second half of the season gets underway tonight at Citi Field. A 6-game homestand starts off with 3 against the Cincinnati Reds, and Citi Field should be electric this weekend. It's going to be an exciting weekend. Obviously, we'll get into David Wright Day tomorrow. Tonight, it's fireworks night, and the pitching matchups for the Mets are now set. It'll be Manaea making his home debut this season tonight, then Clay Holmes for David Wright Day tomorrow, and then David Peterson on Sunday. 7:10 tonight, 4:10 tomorrow, 1:40 p.m. Sunday. You're watching Mets Daily. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live. We have made a change. Follow me at Jake Brown Live. For over a decade, I was Jake Brown Radio. Kind of a big change for me. It doesn't mean a lot, but like when you Google search and SEO and all that, everything was always Jake Brown Radio. So that's going to take some time to adjust, but I did not want to attach my name to a medium that is quote unquote dying. Radio is all digital. It's podcast, it's live, it's streaming. So I wanted to be live. Saturday Night Live. We do it live. I do things live. I do live streams on my TikTok a lot. I do live streams on here. I do live shows for Mets Daily Insights, which you could become one by scanning that code for $5 a month. Scan that, and you get a weekend video, a weekly watch party live, and giveaways as well. So I kind of wanted to change from the radio world. I always wanted to be a radio host, but with what I'm seeing and where the industry is going, that isn't the most desired occupation, as people are getting laid off left and right. Radio numbers are down. So now we are Jake Brown Live. So if you weren't following Jake Brown Radio, follow Jake Brown Live. And if you're following Jake Brown Radio, just when you see Jake Brown Live, that is me. Jake Brown Radio is no more. Rest in peace. Well, the Mets hope to create peace for the fan base this weekend. And, the Reds are a good team. And you look at the Mets' schedule in the second half of this season, and really we're past the halfway point, but the All-Star break, they say the half. My dad will always say, I'll pay attention after the All-Star break. Well, tonight, pay attention, because now it's showtime. 65 games to go, and, the Mets got to get it going here, because the Phillies have a stranglehold right now in the division. It's only a half game, but the Mets have had a wildly inconsistent last month, and, now you start at home, and the Mets have been tremendous at home, and that's something that's got to change. They got to get better on the road. Mets are 33-14 at home. They're 22-28 on the road. That is a drastic difference. They're 55-42. You got to think you probably got to win at least 90-92 at the minimum to win this National League East. And I think it's important now for this team to win the East. I think it's important to get in, but to avoid extra games with the taxing on these pitchers and relievers, I think the Mets could probably use that break. And they could have used that break that they just had. Now it's time for baseball again. And we'll see what Sean Manaea has in his home debut. Excited for the fan base to see that. Fireworks night as well. So the Mets returning home. And again, smash that thumbs up in this video. Comment on this video. Your predictions for the series. I think the Mets take 2 out of 3. I think they're just a better team than the Reds. It's hard to sweep a young team like the Reds. Lodolo has really been good for them. It's Lodolo, Martinez, and Abbott. Abbott has been tremendous, 8-1, a 2.07 ERA. Lodolo's been 6-6, 3.38. So, Sunday's going to be a tough one going up against Abbott. But I expect the Mets to take 2 out of 3 here. They got their best pitchers on the mound outside of Senga, who will pitch against the Angels. Likely, I assume, on Monday, maybe Tuesday. But, we see Manaea at home. That's going to be exciting. And tomorrow's going to be really exciting, man. David Wright retirement day. And you have the schedule there below. I actually broke the news of the schedule. I also broke the news today on Twitter, if you follow me at Jake Brown Live. I have been told the Mets have repainted the numbers, the retired numbers. There were people complaining about them fading, and they were kind of discolored a little bit. The Mets have repainted all those numbers, so they are fresh for the big day tomorrow at Citi Field. So breaking Mets daily news. Now, I don't always have trades or scoops and stuff. When it comes to Mets fan and stadium scoops, you don't need to be in that clubhouse. I know a lot of people, and it's time you put some respect to my name, because not major news, but we do get some scoopage here, Jake Brown and Mets Daily. So appreciate your support. Follow me and subscribe to this show so you get more scoops, random scoops like that. Their numbers are repainted for tomorrow, and David Wright will join them. And I didn't get to see the Right Way on SNY last night, because now I am an out-of-towner here in South Jersey. I don't have SNY. I use the MLB app to watch the games. So I don't get to see that. I'm hoping they put it on YouTube, or I can get a link from someone at SNY. I'm going to work my connections and see if I can find a way to watch it. I assume at some point they're going to put it on YouTube. Let's hope. But I heard it was great, and I know tomorrow is going to be special. And even if he doesn't give Lindor the captaincy, which I think we talked about yesterday, I think Lindor becomes captain at the end of his ceremony tomorrow, which is 3:15. My guess is they're telling you to be in your seats then, and they'll probably start at like 3:25. But they're saying 3:15, 4:10 first pitch for Mets Reds with Clay Holmes on the mound, and the gates opening at 2:10 with the block party at 1:10, which is going to cause a lot extra congestion. I don't know if tomorrow's the best day to have that block party, but I know they do it every weekend. But, man, I love David Wright. One of my childhood heroes. Just, man, it's so sad his career got taken away so soon. I mean, thinking about it, he was in his early 30s. This is a guy that probably could have still been playing if he didn't have that spinal stenosis and the back injuries that derailed his career. And it's truly unfortunate because he was very much a first ballot Hall of Famer if he stayed healthy. And what a joy to watch. What a joyous person. You don't get many people like David Wright anymore. And that bond with Jose Reyes was beautiful. And, they watched it, and he talked about Reyes as the best player. Reyes, you can't defend what he's done, what happened off the field with Jose Reyes. People do make mistakes. You can go however you want it. If you never forgive him, I get it. If you don't like Jose Reyes anymore, I get it. He made some big mistakes in his life, and it's up to you, justifying how you justify his character from those mistakes. But in terms of baseball, Wright and Reyes, that combination was truly glorious to watch on the left side of the infield. It was magical. Reyes stealing bases, Wright driving him in, Wright homering him in. Reyes running around the bases like a madman, Reyes laying down a bunt. It was must-see TV. It was must-see baseball. And tomorrow's going to put a cap on what was a tremendous era, and so deserving is David Wright of getting that number up, man. I am so thrilled to see that go down. I'm so thrilled. I'm going to be there. I get emotional talking about it. There's no doubt I'm going to shed a few tears tomorrow at Citi Field, and I know a lot of fans will. So bring your Kleenex tomorrow, because it's going to be an emotional day seeing our captain go in the rafters. Cannot wait. David Wright Day. We'll see you there. We'll be getting a lot of videos. Our members-only video will be from David Wright Day. So, again, become a member, and you get exclusive insight from David Wright Day. We can't wait to see you there and to be there. The Mets also can't wait to get some bullpen help. And another name that's emerged is Emmanuel Clase. The Guardians, again, have really been struggling. They're pretty much, no one's really out of it in the wild card race in the American League with how mediocre it's been. But they're 4.5 out. They're 3 games under. They've been on a pretty bad stretch here the last month, going from a playoff team to now almost out of it. You got to imagine Clase, they're going to listen to offers. Now, I think he's going to take a haul. And for the Mets, I probably wouldn't do it, but it's a name we have to bring up. This guy was the best reliever in the sport last year, a .61 ERA, and that's over 74 1/3 innings. 5 earned runs in 74 1/3 innings. That's video game numbers. This year, he has a 2.91 ERA, over 43 1/3. He has already allowed 14 earned runs. He's not having as good a year, but he's still a good player, and he still has 2 more years of control. So that's where it becomes interesting, is he does have, he signed one of those deals that, worked out well for the Guardians, where he avoided arbitration, but if he waited it out, he might have got more. So he has another year left, and then he has 2 years of club options for $10 million, which if you're a dominant closer, $10 million is not bad. So there's a chance you can have him locked in for a good number through 2028 if you trade for him. So that's where Clase is intriguing. If the Mets are like, hey, I don't think we'll pay Edwin Diaz, but we can get a closer for half the price, or maybe even a third of the price in Emmanuel Clase, do you trade top prospects to get him? It's something you got to think about. And I know people have thrown out Steven Kwan. I would love Steven Kwan. He hasn't played a lot of center field. He probably could, but he's played mostly left field. So if you moved him to center, a package of both of them would be intriguing. But I think Clase is really the name that a lot of teams are going to be calling the Guardians for. You see the numbers there. Still a really good pitcher. But I do think those deals I discussed yesterday and the prior with the Twins for Coulomb, for maybe a Varland, might make a lot more sense, or Duran, than Clase. But let me know in the comments. Would you put together a nice package for Clase? You saw him last year. He was the best reliever in the sport. would you want to go out and get him and have Clase and Diaz close out games? I mean, that's dynamic. And Brooks Raley back. That is a dynamic duo for the Mets if they were able to pull it off. I'm Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live. Remember, follow me, at Jake Brown Live. Second half of the season. Let's go, Mets. I said World Series before the season. I'm going to stick with it. World Series champs. I said Mets Red Sox, which looked bad the first few months, but the Red Sox playing some good baseball. I feel good about this team, where they're going to go. So we'll be here covering it all the way. We'll be back on Monday. I'll be in New York all weekend. We'll see you at Citi Field for David Wright Day tomorrow. Can't wait to be there and see you all there. It's going to be absolutely an emotional, magical day in Queens. And hopefully the Mets can win for David Wright and win this weekend. We'll be back Monday. Again, members-only video, exclusive video this weekend. Scan that code to subscribe. At Jake Brown Live. Hit that follow button. Smash that thumbs up. Subscribe. Share the channel. We appreciate you watching Mets Daily. Enjoy the weekend. Let's go Mets. Enjoy David Wright Day. We'll talk to you Monday.